March 28th, 2020, Mary Conley. This is Saga Part 3 of the Bundy series. These are events that happened in Jacksonville in the era of 1978 when he was on a rampage. And things I found out by putting this on Next Door Neighbor. I have no reason not to believe most of these things. 1. A girl's aunt at the time had to drive to Eglin Air Force Base or Pensacola or somewhere. There were long strips of water and long bridges crossing, and then there would be marsh and bridge and marsh and bridge. And she said that during that time, the orange Volkswagen was behind her, would not go around her, and stayed back. And she was close enough at times to see the driver, and she swears it was Ted Bundy during his long trip to Pensacola. And that was her aunt that observed him. This was on Next Door Neighbor. I said, anybody have any events with Bundy in the 60s and 70s? Okay, that's 1. 2, Jeb Stuart Junior High School, where Debbie and I went to school in the 60s. 10 years older than Leslie Parmenter. I'm 10 years older. I'm 69. I assume she's about 58. Okay. Jeb Stuart is in the west side, the far west side. From there, there was a girl Debbie lived on Aldington, which touches Wilson. Okay, she lived at 4110 Aldington. I lived on Altland around the corner. And they both kind of intersect into Wilson Boulevard. If you come around the corner and go up Aldington, you're at Wilson. There was a girl who said, my brother's girlfriend at the time, a teenage girl, was walking down Wilson between Parvin and Hugh Edwards when the van came at her. And it's a fairly busy road. It's not like Blanding, but even back then it was an industrial major artery going through the west side Wilson Boulevard. She said the van approached her. Somebody was trying to get her to get in the van. She suddenly went the other way and ran back to her home on Parvin Road. From there was another lady, Brenda Matthews, and it was evening. And she got hungry, and she had a red and white Oldsmobile. Well, I looked up the Oldsmobiles in the 60s and 70s, which a teenager might have as a used car. There was one called a Cougar. Well, since Bundy's girlfriend had a red Mustang in California, Carol DeRoche had a red and black, I guess a vinyl-topped, or maybe not, but a maroon Camaro. The Volkswagen we saw was bright red in 1967, either a rental or stolen from Washington State. So something about that. There was a grocery store. I don't know if it was a mom and pop grocery store, an off-brand grocery store, but Brenda said she had gotten hungry. She was slender and had long black hair parted in the middle, which was still a style in the 70s and 78. And she said she'd gotten hungry, so she went out in the evening to get something to eat. And she went to that grocery store in Memorial Park in Normandy, which is where the cemetery is. She said when she had gone in and came out, there was a white, dirty van with the back door open. And she said and she couldn't get to her car except passing this van. And she said it was not well lit. This was on Next Door Neighbor. And so she approached the van, she kicked the door shut, got in her car, and hailed out of there. And I got to thinking about the cemetery. They had to truck in mounds of dirt. And it's also back there, it was more wooded towards the ends, because we're talking 78, we're not talking 2024. It's still a cemetery. I have plots there, my parents, my brother, the neighbors, several of the neighbors are buried there. I think even one of the Leonard Skinner guys was buried there, but they moved him, I think, or something. Anyway, because people would visit the grave too much. Anyway, there were mounds of clay that I guess were trucked in from Georgia or the countryside, because in Florida we don't have topsoil. We have white beach-like sand. It's hard to grow things because you don't have a good layer of topsoil. The vegetation, the vegetables like topsoil. But I got to thinking, since Mr. Deckel said the outside of the van was so dirty, if Bundy, in a way to camouflage the van, to make it look like more of a personal van than or a work van, I don't know, just to camouflage it, had taken some of that red clay-like stuff and just literally just smeared it on the sides and all. I don't know. But Brenda, the lady's name was Brenda Matthews. and a Chris Carpenter said that for years she had heard that he had been at the Gator Inn on Phillips, and she never could verify it. But she's over here on the west side, and another girl said, my mom met him at Gator Inn when she was a child. My grandparents owned the Gator Inn. And I said, the one on Phillips? She said, yes, my grandfather owned the Gator Inn. And but they didn't live there. After 72, Sam died, and they sold the whole lock, stock, and barrel in 74. So that place is Bundy sometime before 74 in Jacksonville. Third, as a child, me and Debbie would go to the roller derm on Cassett. It was almost from, I'd say, 11 to 15 or 16. Friday night, it wasn't expensive. You could rent the skates, and we would skate and skate and skate. And so one guy said his uncle, who was about 17 at the time, noticed a guy who was not appropriate age approaching some of the young girls, I don't know, in the parking lot or the entrance, and they told him to get the hell out of there. They said he swore it was Bundy, that he was approaching girls, and the guy that worked there told him, shoot him away. Next door neighbor told us this. The next thing was a lady from the Evangel Temple all these years, which is at Ramona and I-10, said that for all the years the church has said that during the rampage or during the exploratory 36 hours, he had gone to that church and asked for work or errands or food. And they said I think they gave him some food, but they said for him to earn any money, he had to do some work because he was asking for a handout, basically. And they said they swore it was Bundy during that time he was in Jacksonville. Evangel Temple, Ramona Boulevard. He had gone there asking for funds and food. I'm trying to think. I guess that's about it. Of course, he was at the Daly's Shell Station on St. John's and Roosevelt, still there. And if you triangulate, and the Green Acres is way out in Normandy Lane, where the girl ran away from him. It's not far. If you go straight up Lane, you can go to Normandy. You go to Normandy to Green Acres. And also Normandy is where Memorial Park is, where Brenda Matthews said that the van was parked where she bought food. If you triangulate everything, Debbie's home is in the center. I mean, literally, Orange Park, all the places on the west side, never the south side. You know, I mean, he was driving all over, and he knew the place. In my opinion, he knew Jacksonville. All right. I mean, because I've driven in areas of Jacksonville out on 44th Street, and I got lost coming back from the airport on Otis Road and Duuuuval and Yankee Clipper. If you take the wrong Yankee Clipper, you can go riding all over the place. I mean, literally all over the place till you're finally on Phoenix Avenue. You say, I've got to get back to work. How in the hell? And you're looking up. I mean, and then Terry Parker, I've gotten lost over there. And, I mean, not easy lost. So if he was driving around Jax, he sure seemed to know where he was going. Okay, thank you.